Good morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice of Radio. So today, we've got a really nice stadium to talk about. Now, you might be thinking, hang on a second, Wassy, isn't this your fourth video today? Yes. Yes, it is. What am I going to do about it? They keep revealing really fun new cards. What am I going to do, not bring you videos about them? That doesn't sound like me, ladies and gentlemen. That doesn't sound like me. So what have we got? Well, it's a new stadium. It's called Night Stadium. And we have our translation from the lovely David Hochmann. And just like we had a look at Misty's Wish earlier, helping out Slowpoke and Psyduck, here we have a new Darkness Stadium helping out Sableye, Mega Sableye, and Tyranitar. What does it do? Darkness basic Pokemon have no retreat cost. Basic Darkness Pokemon get free retreat. Tell me that doesn't sound absolutely brilliant. Now, it's fairly narrow in its application, I'll give you that. But I don't think that really matters, because you've got instant free retreat. And here's the thing. This is not a million miles away from Altar of the Moon. But let's make no mistake about it. Where it's applicable, and it won't always be applicable, it's only for basic Darkness Pokemon. Not a basic, don't get it. Not a Darkness Pokemon, don't get it. But for basic Darkness Pokemon, this is significantly better than Altar of the Moon. Because you see, Altar of the Moon reduced your retreat cost by 2 if you had a Darkness Energy attached. This gives you free retreat. Now, firstly, reducing the retreat cost by 2 might not be enough. I mean, let's take Mega Sableye and Tyranitar as an example, not the last time we're going to be mentioning that. Well, that goes from 4 down to 2 with Altar of the Moon. That's not good enough. That's way too, well, mediocre. You're still not going to be wanting to discard 2 energy to retreat it. Whereas this just gives you free retreat. Also, we've got a whole bunch of things around, like Absol, for instance, that will increase your retreat. So if your opponent's got 2 Absol up, or on the bench, then your retreat cost goes from 4 to 6. Altar of the Moon brings it from 6 to 4. That's still huge. Whereas the wording on this is extremely important. Night City Stairs, Darkness basic Pokemon have no retreat cost, which means it's very much like the old Floatstone. Your opponent cannot increase the retreat cost here. It goes from 4 to nothing with your stadium, and then they can have 27 Absol. I mean, they can only put 4 in their deck. But if they've got 4 Absol out, your retreat cost goes from nothing to nothing. You've always got free retreat. It's one of the things that made Floatstone so gosh darn good. And the other important thing to point out here is that this is in your control. So if we contrast Altar of the Sun and Altar of the Moon here, Altar of the Moon reduces your retreat cost. On your turn, you play an Altar of the Moon. On your turn, you retreat. We're good. Whereas Altar of the Sun removes your weakness from Metal and Fire Pokemon. So on your turn, you play Altar of the Sun, and on your opponent's turn, they try and KO you. Which means they can play their own stadium or otherwise get rid of it, and then you don't get weakness removed anymore. It essentially does nothing under that circumstance. And that's not good. This is in your control, and it's very, very nice. And I can't stress enough, going to a retreat of 0 is so much better than something like Altar of the Moon. It really, really is going to help. But also here, there's a couple other things going in our favour, and it's really all about the rotation. Because you see, we're losing Field Blower. And Field Blower is one of the best ways to get rid of stadiums. Now, don't get me wrong, your opponent can play their own stadium, and they're still going to have Faber in order to Lost Zone it. Although you can't really recover stadiums very easily, so a lot of the time discarding is functionally the same as Lost Zoning it. But the point is, they're less likely to be able to just get rid of it. They've got 1 or 2 fewer outs to actually get rid of this now, and that is going to really, really help you. But also, we're losing Devoured Field. So, Darkness decks at the moment, Devoured Field's a really good thing to play. because it means you do an extra 10 damage. When we're losing that, Darkness decks are going to be looking for something else. This could be it. Now, don't get me wrong, right? We're still going to want to play one copy of Black Market Prism Star because, well, it's Black Market Prism Star. It means you give up one fewer prize when a Darkness Pokemon with Darkness Energy gets KO'd. And look, I just played an entire regional championship with Black Market Prism Star. Never actually got the benefit of it once, but it's one of those things that you've got to play because you never know. It might work out. No guarantee, but you might use it. And it's a Prism Star anyway, so you play one copy in your deck. But you need something else stadium-wise. And one of the other things to point out here is, look, you can only play one stadium at a time. So okay, most of the Darkness Stadium are going away, but we still got Shrine of Punishment. And if you're using a non-GX Pokemon, Shrine of Punishment that puts one damage counter on each EX and GX between turns is phenomenal, and you may well want to play it. Similarly, Unbroken Bonds has just come out, and we've just got Power Plant, which removes abilities of EX and GX Pokemon. So yeah, there is a very, very good chance that you're going to want to be playing that, as long as you're not playing EX and GX decks, or that you're not playing EX and GX decks that use abilities. So that really is one of the biggest barriers here, whether you'd rather play one of those other stadiums instead. Because if we look purely at the effect, it's a very, very good effect. And then of course we get to probably the big question here. What Pokemon are we going to use it with? Because there's no point just having free retreat, you need to do something with it. And one of the obvious answers here is Mega Sableye and Tyranitar GX. Now, we looked at this just earlier today. I'll pop a link to that video in the description. But it's a very, very, very good card with a very, very, very high retreat cost. So here, you kind of fix it quite nicely. You've still got the great attacks. You can still do 210 for 5 energy, taking an extra prize if you KO an EX or a GX. And you can still do 250 for 5 energy, but if you've got 10 energy on instead, discard the top 15 cards of your opponent's deck. That's cool. But now you can just flick between them quite nicely. Now you can retreat a damaged Pokemon, and we're moving into a format without Guzma, without Pokemon Catcher, and without Counter Catcher, which means our gusting options are severely limited, which means it is way more likely we're going to be able to retreat one of these big boys and not have our opponent gust it up and KO it. And that's going to help. Now, one thing we do need to mention here, you can't use buff padding. Because you see, buff padding reads, if the Pokemon this card is attached to has a retreat cost of exactly 4, it gets plus 50 HP. But this card reads, your Darkness basic Pokemon has no retreat cost. It gets rid of your retreat cost, which means you don't get to use buff padding. Now, it also means something like the Absol from Team Up is going to do like naffle damage. Seriously, it's going to do 30, but it will take away buff padding. Now, Absol's a good one we're going to maybe want to be using here. Greninja and Zoroark and any future Tag Team GX here will work very nicely indeed. Hooper would be amazing with this because it's a really good card, a really awkward retreat cost, but unfortunately Hooper is well, I'm going to be honest with you, it's rotating out. So that's going to be a little bit of a pain. We've also got a couple of other things. We've got Hooper GX, for instance, which will work nicely with this, although who's playing Hooper GX at the moment? And then, of course, got to give a shout out to Darkrai Prism Star. Huge fan of Darkrai Prism Star. You get to bench it and then attach 2 extra energy when you do. Problem being that you're then sitting there with a really awkward retreat cost. And a lot of the time, you're going to want to try and move that energy to one of your other Pokemon. Don't worry your pretty little head about it, ladies and gentlemen. You're fine. It's been rotated, but how about a bit of the old Guzzlord GX? That could be quite nice here. And essentially, where we're going with this is very simple. It is amazing if you don't have another stadium you really need to play and you're playing basic Darkness Pokemon. Otherwise, it's trash and you'll never play it. But I think there is an awful lot to like here. I'm giving it between 3 and 4 Wossies. When I give half Wossies, that would be barbaric, purely because it's narrow in scope and we've still got stuff like Shrine of Punishment and Power Plant, which are very, very good cards. But make no mistake about it, this is great. I love it. But I want to know what you think about it, so please do let me know in the comment section. Go nuts, be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at The Wassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. And please do make sure you're checking out youtube.com/WassyPlays, where we talk about games that don't have Pokemon in. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.